Hello, Revere, and welcome to our Revere Veterans and Community Show. I have two special, wonderful guests here. I have Mrs. Adrienne Maguire, who's a former director of the Youth Center for the last 12 years. Welcome, Adrienne.
Thank you, Morris.
And I have from the school committee, Mr. Dan Maguire, who's been a member of the school committee for
11 years.
11 years. Welcome to our show.
Thank you, Morris.
Adrienne, ladies first, so we're going to start with you. Okay, as former director of the Youth Center, exactly what function did you do at the Youth Center?
Well, when I worked my job there, it was loaded with lots of kids and family activities. We planned 12 months a year, 7 days a week, activities from sports to family activities. I had a great staff. We added a lot of fine programming that most of them continue still to today with the new director, which I'm happy to see that the programs continued. And
how does the family get their children into the Youth Center, or it's automatic?
Well, you just have to go by. There's lots of activities. You can find about the activities online through the city's website.
Any age limit on that, Adrienne?
No, we started toddlers, and we went all the way up till teenagers.
Right. Now I want to get back to Mr. Maguire, who's on the school committee. Dan, as a member of the school committee for 11 years.
11 years.
Tell us how you first got started on it, because you do a fabulous job, I will say that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, it all started with former Mayor Ambrosino. Tom was a very big part of my life, it's still to this day a mentor of my life. And when he first got elected mayor, I kiddingly said, I'm thinking of running for school committee, but I was kidding. And he said, Dan, you'd make a great school committee member. I'd support you 110%. And he almost floored me. I said, you really? Because I'm a letter carrier. I'm a Revere High graduate. I wish I went to college. It's one of my regrets in life. I'm not saying I didn't think I was that smart, but I had street smarts, and that's what he liked about me, how I deal with people. And as I've gone along, I didn't win that first election. It taught me a lot about putting your name out there in the public. It made me, I think, a better politician or a better school committee member because I really reached out to people to communicate, why you didn't vote me, or what the role is as a school committee member. So I've strived since then to be open, to be accessible, to be honest, and to give the people the truth about the Revere Public Schools, and to build a great school system, which we have, because the kids in Revere deserve the best that we can provide, and that's what I still strive to today.
How many people are on the school committee, if I may ask you?
There's six elected citywide.
And the mayor is 7?
The mayor is the chair of the school committee.
He would be number 7?
Number 7.
Oh, so if there's a vote there, split 4-3.
Correct.
Oh, right, it's never 3-3.
Correct.
Okay. Exactly, what does the school committee do? I mean, do they buy books and...
we oversee basically all the budgetary, everything that comes in. We really try to set policies and procedures for the school. We work closely with the PTAs and the superintendent, evaluating along the way. Basically, I view the school committee's role as the voice of the public, a voice of the parents that we are, and the voice of the children that is not heard. So every child, every school we have to deal with. There's a multitude of issues that come before us, religious holidays, the schedule, technology-driven, where we should spend the money, why we're spending it that way. We've done a lot in the last 7 or 8 years on building new buildings, and that's taken up a lot of time. But I'm very happy that we've done that, and now we need a new high school. We really need to push that button and to get the community rallied around the idea of a new high school.
Well, I don't know, a lot of people tell me that the new high school would be built in the back of the old high school facing the highway. Is that one of the areas, or as someone mentioned with the Wonderland racetrack used to be?
Yes, there's a couple of ideas, and they'll have to. For instance, when we did the Hill School, we hired some people through the state to look at where could we put that school. The Harry Delarosa Stadium was an option. The Hill Park was an option, and I believe there was another option. There was like 3 options that they came up with.
Would
And we
it be-
decided with the Hill School
I was
on the Hill
wondering-
Park.
With the Beachmont School, is the land adjacent to the Beachmont School heading toward East Boston? Could that be used for a high school, or is that?
It's really marshland.
Oh, that
It's-
is marshland?
It is all marshland, conservation land. Michael Ferranti, Stacy, Sue, and I, and others on the school committee were looking at the Wonderland dog track, about building and you don't need the whole site. And I think we should open up a dialogue with Mr. Fields on possibly securing that land to build it fresh there, and then keep the old high school as a centralized middle school, which would solve a lot of issues with the lottery. It would make our middle school all in one building, so you could handle those 6th, 7th, and 8th graders with the bullying and technology and everything that's faced with an adolescent these days into one building, so your resources are not spread amongst 3 buildings. And then it would open up seats in the elementary level, because our enrollment is up 160 as of this year, and it's gone up consistently for the last 12 years. And the vision over the next 10 years is to be up another 700 to 800 kids. So we'll be up over 8,300 kids.
You really know your stuff, Dan. That's good. I'm glad you're giving me a good lesson right here.
Well, you have to stay on top.
Right. Now, before I get back to Mrs. Adrienne Maguire, I just want to ask you one question. How much, I hear all kinds of different figures, and if you don't know, don't feel bad, because everybody's giving me different ones. How much of the tax rate that we get in Revere, a percentage goes for the schools? Someone said 40, someone said 50, approximately.
Rough numbers
Exactly. I mean,
are about, we spend about 12 to 13,000, rough numbers, every child.
I heard 14, but 13 is
80%,
good too.
roughly 80% comes from state and federal government.
Oh, not from the city.
So from the city, you're looking at about 20 to 30% of that, say 12,000, 14,000. Now, don't forget, the city's always level funded that education. They have to give that money to the schools, or you lose the state and federal. It's called level funding.
Oh,
Any city and town can say, you really need to do this. We believe in this. Here's an extra $2 million to do that, or to fix that. And the city's been great about building all these schools, and we're having great reimbursement structure with the state, roughly 75 to 80% across the board. We spent over $100 million, but it only cost the taxpayers 25% of, let's say, $125 million. So the over and above, like a town like Brookline, very wealthy, want to do an initiative with iPads, which I would love to get an iPad in every kid from kindergarten to 12, not just the high school. We need $2 million to do that. So the school committee would put together, this is the exact number, can we have that? Town of Brookline does that. They go above net school spending.
and when the kids graduate, did they keep those iPads, or they remain with the school?
No, they go in, they can't take them home for the summer, they get refurbished or
Oh, it's never
updated.
Right.
They cannot take them home during the summer.
But they.
But year round, that's it's been a great tool at the high school, I feel. My daughter sometimes doesn't feel, because it's almost having a teacher 24/7 or someone to answer to in the non-school time, but especially in our urban setting where the language is 55 to 60% of the people who speak English as a second language. They're actually going home and teaching their parents with the iPad.
Oh, the English language?
They don't have a computer in the house.
I have this other question I was just going to ask you. Is, you said 13,000 per student, I heard 14, but let's stick to the figure, the low one, 13,000.
Mm-hmm.
If a person is working, and a lot of people in Revere don't make 60,000 a year or 80,000 a year, but let's say they made 80,000 a year, and 15% or let's say 20% of the 80,000 went to taxes, that would be 16,000.
Mm-hmm.
And if they have 2 kids and you're paying 13,000, that's 26,000 minus the 16, that's 10,000 that the city is not getting in taxes of the federal government. Where does that extra money come from? The federal government?
Federal and state,
Oh, they both work?
they work together.
Okay.
I don't know the percentage. It
No,
could
no,
be
no, I
40,
just-
40, it could be 50,
Right.
30, it could be, no, that's a formula that comes, and it's driven by your population and driven by the census. That's why it's very important to fill out the census and fill out the free and reduced lunches and stuff
Oh,
like
I
that.
see, and the census are done every 10 years, I assume. Right. Now, Adrienne, I want to get back to your kids. They wanted to come here so bad, I know,
I know.
but they had to be in school. I believe one is in college, you said?
Right, she's a senior at Regis this year, so she couldn't really get away.
Right, neither could the young one, because
Well,
it's,
she's finishing her high school day right now, and her after-school
what are they majoring
activities.
in? I mean, the one in Regis.
She's going to be a nurse.
Just like her mother.
She is, yeah.
A good nurse,
Right.
like her mother.
She's hoping to be an intensive care nurse.
Okay, now, Adrienne, this I got to give me a little geography lesson, geometry, right. You went on a mission to the Dominican Republic.
We did this summer.
Tell us a little about that.
So it was a great trip. My daughter Michaela has always wanted to do service abroad, but because of her school schedule and her college basketball schedule, she wasn't able to. So I spoke to Jessica Consoli, who happens to be a kindergarten teacher at the McKinley School. I knew that she did mission trips in Revere with the high school kids, and so I asked her about it, and she hooked us up with the University of Southern Maine. Little did we know, Jessica and her husband are the founders of this program, and they have, it's an amazing group. They have a mission. They built the place that we stay, and every 6 months a group does a mission out there. It's a medical mission. We serviced about 1,500 people in the 12 days that we were out there.
Exactly what is the function of the mission, if I may ask you?
So
To
we
have-
opened medical clinics.
Oh, okay, it isn't like an exchange program with,
No.
okay.
So we were nurses and nurse practitioners and student nurses, and we went out there, and every day we would open a clinic in a different setting, very rural. I mean, in the mountains. We had to walk sometime a couple of miles to get to the spot that we had the mission in, and we would open it up, and people would sit for hours and wait their turn to be seen by the only practitioners that these people will probably see, some of them in many years.
Now, my question is to you, how did you find the medical service down in the Dominican Republic as compared to us up here? Don't
Well,
be-
for most of them, the only medical care they got was the care that we gave them.
That was it?
Which they don't, most of them don't have any vehicles to drive any place. I mean, it's a very poor, very rural spots. The last place we did a clinic in, they had just gotten electricity in that area within the last year.
Doesn't the World Health Organization help them in any way?
Different groups go and do missions out there.
That's it, huh?
But every 6 months, our group goes out there, and they see people who are sick, but they also do chronic care. So that every 6 months, some of the people that they see are the same people every 6 months. And the reason for that is we supply them with their diabetes medicine, their blood pressure medicine. We give them a 6-month supply, and then we see them again in 6 months. And
Different group for 11 years?
20 years this group has been doing this.
You have a book here. Just tell us a little about that book, Adrienne.
So we put it together. There were 55 members of
Could
our...
you hold up the front so
So
they
I
can get a
think-
picture of
I
it?
think Danny held it up a little. We were in Fushimana, Dominican Republic. Like I said, 55 members who provided care for, almost 1,500 people over the course of the 12 days. It was pretty amazing. I mean, it's a night and day difference from the medical care that we get here. We only could service whatever it was that we brought on in our backpacks and
Suitcases.
in suitcases for the day.
I want to get back to Mr. Maguire. Now, Dan, I got a list here. If I was going to do all this here, we wouldn't get out of here till Monday. So I want to do something. Also, you're a member of St. Anthony's Holy Name Society. Tell us a little about that, too. And the Knights of Columbus after the other.
St. Anthony's is a men's organization that supports the church in any way they can, financially, spiritually. It's been a great experience for me, some great members. We actually had a bowling league that we brought some of our spouses and girlfriends into this year that we had a lot of fun with. Bobby Mara and his wife Janine put together. We're looking forward to the fall bowling league. It's another organization that over the years has diminished. It was once, I would say, hundreds of members. Now it's probably down to the 40s and under. People,
Because of age?
Because of age, because of life, because of people are busy. Other religions. It's a Catholic church. They do have a lady sodality. It's very active. We try to do things together. But it's just the men's side of the religious arm of the St. Anthony's Church.
I have to tell you, when the Pope came here, and I heard this while I was in Washington, from people that come from around the Philadelphia area, they were talking, and some from Boston from another group. And they said the reason the Pope didn't come to Boston, which it should have been because Boston's predominantly the biggest Catholic community in the United States, was because the closing of the churches, and they were afraid there might be some demonstrations against the Pope because of that. So to be politically correct, he sort of kind of cut out the visit here.
Right, yeah.
Right. So is it the Pope that makes the decision to close the church, or is it the Cardinal in the city? Or both?
I think they have a council, much like they have a council. I know Cardinal O'Malley handles the sexual abuse cases. Maybe that's what they were afraid of protesting.
Oh, I guess you're...
But the closing of churches is handled by I don't know who, but what they're doing and what we've been told as a society at St. Anthony's is eventually Immaculate and St. Anthony's would be one church with one pastor, one set of priests, again for cost savings and to save money.
The reason I don't understand the closing the church, because the population is going to increase. You're going to have more Catholics, more non-Catholics, but you're going to have a lot of people that want to go to church. Where are they going to go? I mean, are they going to jam-pack them in? That's why I was wondering why the closings. Eventually, you're going to have more people. You're going to have more finances to take care of it. So sometimes it's either way, you know.
Right.
You got to do the correct thing now, and the correct thing would be to close it. But 10 years from now, you might say, "Gee, I wish we never did."
I know.
Well, that's what we did when we closed all those schools all those years ago, and then
The same thing happened?
That it's elderly housing to this day. I have a lot of friends that live in the elderly housing.
Okay.
But my idea is we have a lot of churches in our city, Spanish and Muslims.
Oh, yeah. Well, Muslims at the mosque, really.
Right. It's almost, my idea is have one church for all denominations and take a big building where you can interfaith.
Right. That would be a good idea, what you mentioned. And Dan, let me tell you why I think it would be a good idea to have one church that would take care of all religions, not only Protestant, Catholic, Jewish, Muslims. Because, if you notice, people usually stick together. So if you go to the Christian Catholic Church, it's usually all Catholics. And then some of the people, for example, from the Muslim community or even the Hebrew community will not go into a Catholic church or a Christian church for religious reasons. But if you said what you said, all coming together, it's good.
I believe in that. I believe that...
I do too. I agree with you 100%.
Our daughters have gone to school with every denomination of race, creed, and color, and every religion, and to expose... Adrienne and I have been exposed to different Muslim ceremonies with the lamb and stuff, and Jewish ceremonies, and obviously the Irish Catholic that I am. She's an Italian Catholic.
It's funny, Adrienne and Dan, I always tell people, my folks come from Europe. I'm the first generation born in America, and I lived in New York. And when the first generation came from Europe, they all clicked together. The Italians in one neighborhood, the Germans in one neighborhood, the Jews in one neighborhood, the French in one neighborhood. But the kids at those, the first generation like myself, we branched out.
Right.
And I'm glad I mingle with everybody. And what you said before, I couldn't agree more with you?
Well, to me, it's always been about the kids. It's all about the kids. Even at your age, you're saying it's all about the kids. Kids don't have, can be taught openness and
Right.
respect, and that's what it is, respect of one's culture and religion.
You know, I came back from the Knights of Columbus, and I was down in Arlington, Virginia, where the Knights of Columbus did a fabulous job honoring the veterans. We had all kinds of people that came to the Knights of Columbus. I'm not a Christian, but they treated me better than some of my own people do. So they were nice out there. So I want you to tell your Knights of Columbus to get a hold of the Edward Douglas White, Knights of Columbus in Arlington, Virginia, and tell them from me wonderful thanks for a wonderful time they did for the veterans down there. Would you do that for us,
I will
Dan?
definitely reach out.
And I'll make sure you get the number there, because I looked it up on the computer, which I learned to work 4 months ago. So I thought you'd like that.
Well, that's another organization that's trying to be reborn under John Berengia, myself, Michael Ferranti. We're building up new membership. Ronnie Corbett, God bless him. I grew up on Haddon Street. Ronnie is still in the same house. He's in his early 90s, and he wants the structure of one club, and kind of we want a structure of a younger. So we're working things out as we progress. But I joined when I was 18 years old, and the old senior center was the Knights of Columbus building.
Can I give you a little tidbit?
Yes.
About the Knights of Columbus? Sitting next to me was a 4-star general. His name was Gregory Martin. And he was talking to me because we were both over he was in Europe and Germany, and so was I. He mentioned to me, I don't know if you ever remember Jimmy Doolittle's raid over Tokyo.
I remember the name.
Back in the 41, 42. 2 out of the 25 that flew, 2 are still alive. One is Richard Cole, who was his co-pilot, Doolittle's co-pilot, 100 years old. And the other one is David Thatcher, who was the gunner, 97 years old. So to them out there,
Bless them.
I want to say thank you for your service.
Yes.
Adrienne, I got to get back to you. We got about 5.5 minutes left. You're a Revere, oh God, we could go on for an hour here. Revere Beach Partnership and sand sculptor, and also a registered nurse. So if you could take 2 minutes and just interlock them both.
So my current job is working as a school nurse here in Revere, and my position is a little different than some of the others because I float to all the schools wherever they need me. I just finished working for the last few months over at the Garfield Elementary School covering a maternity leave. So starting next week I'll be traveling around again. You know, it's been a great job. I get to see the whole city. My girls have been students in many of the schools around the city, so it's really nice to see you know, old friends as I go around the city. So it's a good job.
Would you do me one favor? Would you just tell the people out there why it is good to get a flu shot? Some of them say they don't want it, but I think it's terrific.
Well, you know, we get a flu shot the last few years. We've actually been getting them since the H1N1 has been around. And, you know, the less people that are sick, you know, the less we spread. You know, there are still people that get really sick from the flu. You know, those that are immunocompromised, have allergies, have asthma, have anything that's, you know, chronic illness. The flu hits them hard. So for those of us who can help stop the spread of the flu, having a flu shot is a great thing.
Right. And Dan, you were a letter carrier, I believe, for
29.
29 years?
In November 8th, my anniversary.
Congratulations. Tell us a little about that.
It's a job I love. It's changing dramatically over the years. We're delivering more packages now than letters. We're delivering packages 7 days a week. But it's been something. Adrienne's father was a letter carrier in East Boston for years, and we worked together before he was married, and then, you know, obviously when he was married. He was a letter carrier for over 40 years, but I'm not going to say that. My body's breaking down. It's a lot more physical, I say, to Tony, than you were driving around those little Jeeps.
Excuse me.
And I love that I live, work in Revere, servicing the community. Every boss I've had in my postal career knows that I know everybody in the city, so I really handle a lot of the complaints, a lot of the problems, a lot of looking after the elderly, or if some mail is backing up. We run a carrier alert program for people that might be in need of, if they see the mail piling up. So I go out and work with Revere Police on that.
Now I got to ask you a question. The computers that came out, people send a lot of emails. Has that really affected the post office quite a bit?
Well, it's first-class letters, but you know yourself how many advertisements you get in your mail. So you never got as many years ago. You did get first-class letters because people actually sat down and wrote a letter, which I love, and I try to stress to my kids, and I try to stress as a school community to actually put pen to paper and put 49 cents on it. It's not how much a stamp is, but put the forever stamp on it and do that. But you know, communication is the key with the Postal Service.
Yep, I feel when you get a personal letter from someone...
I'm still excited this day when I get one.
Do you really?
Oh, I love it.
When you do get one, I feel it's more personal than to have someone just get on and send
it out to 55
right.
different people. But
Yep.
the business is changing, and we've never delivered so much parcels. And that's what the computer is driving, is in-home business. In fact, there's a gentleman in the community that owns this Flexi Brace company who gave me a great back brace about a year ago, which is tremendous. He does it right out of his house on Morris Street in Revere. We pick up 400 to 500 packages every day, 6 days a week. He spent over $500,000 in postage last year, and he's scheduled to do 700. Any kind of, like 17 different types of braces.
That's terrific. I would like to take the time to say thank you to both of you for coming on the show. You, Mrs. Maguire.
Thanks,
It was
Morris.
a pleasure and an honor to have you here. And you, Mr. Maguire. It was
Always
a
a
pleasure and an
pleasure.
honor to have you. God bless both of you.
Thank
and
you.
I hope you have a great success when elected to the school committee.
I appreciate it. Thank
Because
you
you
very
do
much.
a fabulous job, and you do a fabulous job.
We're a
Thanks,
tag team.
Morris.
Right, so I want to thank the people of Revere for listening, but most of all our troops overseas and in the United States, and our great country, the United States of America. God bless us all, and God bless everybody out there. Thank you. Until the next time, another great show
Happy
with
Columbus
another
Day.
two great people.